Stop Now, a social experiment enterprise.
See, Carl, how you doing, sir?
I'm fat and sassy.
And I think that's as best as any of us can hope for these days, man. Good to
There you
talk
go,
to you.
baby.
So, how's the new year been treating you so far?
It's actually, I don't know, life doesn't treat me bad.
Mm,
So it's been good. I am an eternal optimist. The glass is always half full. And I am a man of faith. So because of that, I don't think anything happens by accident.
mm,
And most of the things I don't like are blessings in disguise. That's the kind of the way I look at it. I'm a perseverance guy that doesn't really believe much in failure. Everything is temporary. So you might not win early on, but eventually, if you keep getting up, you're going to win.
mm.
So that's kind of a snapshot of my persona. Uh, I've had an amazing life. I've been in 4 or 5 different positions in life, all of which have been blessed and successful. And so I just count my blessings. You know, I'm a
Okay.
professional musician. I've been a corporate person. I've been a retail businessman, and
Mm.
now I'm in a nonprofit.
Okay.
So
So
yeah,
you had a
everything's
lot
been,
of different experiences.
yes, sir. Well, I work with governments internationally, all faith organizations, and healthcare. I enable people providing and seeking help to find each other.
Mm.
So I'm a connector. That's all
Okay.
I do. I don't perform any service. I just, you're looking for, I had a guy who was looking for a pallet jack. I went and found him a pallet jack. I constantly build a spider web and I help people find help. I'm doing an event, for instance, tomorrow on It Takes a Village. It's about children. I
Mm.
took the top 10 things that people want to do to help their children, do mental health, social justice, food, financial. I've got 5 in Texas, 5 in other parts of the country, and 2, one in Africa, one in India,
Mm.
that are talking about that. And all of which are, in my mind, content experts. And I don't believe that the preacher nor the politician will fix it. I believe it's going to take us to
Mm.
fix it. I think that's the method and the message. We got to do our part. We can't sit
Right.
up there and try to vote you into getting the work done.
Mm.
And it's called
That's more
community
probably
care
than you were
resource.
asking, but I gave you.
And it's you got it back here on your screen. Community Care Resource Council is what it's called.
That's what it's called.
All right, now that's a great organization you got there. What made you get started in that? How did you pick that up? Like, you don't hear that every day. Like, what made you think this is what I want to do?
Well, first of all, it's kind of just what I did. There's a
Mm.
story about a guy named Abram that God told him to go to a place that I will show you. And so that's what I did. I just headed out. Didn't know where I was going, what I was going to do. I'd been in the retail furniture business 18 years, but I wanted to help people. And I've always been involved, even as a teenager, in helping people. And so I just started to do that. Eventually, I ended up with a co-worker, a colleague of mine, Dr. David Lane, who's recognized in 42 states, 27 countries, father of molecular psychology,
Mm.
author of Hurts, Habits, and Hangups, which you may have heard from Saddleback Church. That was his doctorate thesaurus. And he had practiced community care for 40 years in the church. The church is a hospital, that kind of concept. So between our association and what I had already done, community care became what we were going to represent. The Resource Council just became the idea of taking an organization or a volunteer or a person in need and putting them as part of the council. And there's no fees involved. There's no ulterior motive. There's no sleight of hand. It's all about helping other people, people helping people. So the theory used to be, I've changed since then, but my elevator speech used to be helping people find help. But that took a little more explanation. So I'm still working on that elevator speech. But that's where that came from, Melissa.
So, Karl, when you talk about, helping people find help or people helping people, I think one thing that we can identify with, regardless of where we live in the country or what we look like or what our faith is, or maybe even a lack of faith. But I think one thing that united us last year was the circumstance of COVID. So when you talk about getting people to the help they need, to the resources they need, connecting them with other people, like what was one or two of the big things that people came to you with last year that they needed real help with?
It was something they were unaware of: mental health. There is a thing called COVID fatigue. It's a real thing. Years ago, they used to call it house arrest or fever, some kind of fever they used to call it.
Cabin fever.
Cabin fever, exactly. And so, but all it is that the lack of human touch and human interaction has been documented in so many ways of creating a vacuum. And so the thing that helped that to answer your question, Nate, was evident that people had a problem they didn't even know that was a problem. You can look in certain fields. I'll give you one. The largest addiction now on planet Earth is sex. There's been a 3,000% increase in sex revenues since March. Why? Well, I didn't have anything to do, so I'd get on the computer. The average age of entering pornography is 9 years old.
Wow.
Because what are we doing? We're babysitting our kids with telephones and computers. So they're totally unsupervised. Well, they're safe. They're right here. I got an eye on them. Well, yeah, you do, but somebody else does too. That's the problem. So to answer your question, that's one of them. Just the mental fatigue that comes along with trying to watch every Netflix that there is, getting upset. And there were so many benefits. One of the healing parts of that is people to see the blessing in the curse. Because I went to Sonic the other day and I bought 3 hot dogs and it cost me $17. I was outraged.
Yeah.
I'd been paying $17 for Sonic hot dogs for years.
Right.
But I got accustomed to going to Kroger and buying my hot dogs. And it would cost me $1.99 for a package of hot dogs. I could even get some chili and some buns and everything, and I'd be done for $4.38. And so I had to learn that there was a value in getting me to do what I needed to do the right way. And the value in exercise, a value. Our churches are learning. There's more people going to church now than ever have that have been previously unchurched. And they're doing that because of COVID. They were driven to the computer, but they didn't take the sex route. They took the route of the cross. So again, there's just a lot of, again, I told Nate earlier, I am a eternal optimist. So all I could do is see the value in this pandemic, frankly.
So, you mentioned how the sex rate has, gone up. It is Human Trafficking Month. So have you seen more of people coming to you, have you had to help more human trafficking victims with your connections, had to connect more people, more victims recently since March with COVID?
I have had the blessing to be able to help those people fighting sex trafficking. I work with those people. A lot of people don't know it, but I'm here in Dallas, Texas, and in Fort Worth, Texas is the second largest trafficking zone in the world. They have recently busted some people that had very wholesome appearances to the public that were basically involved in the slavery that is sex trafficking and human trafficking. And the things that they do and the methodology they use is very sophisticated slavery, because they get people to perform for getting their nails done, buying them shoes once a month, all kinds of and they use the camera, they record them doing detestable things and then blackmail them into doing more detestable things, of which they create more video. So yes, I have seen that huge. And I was blessed to be involved with the federal government. See, one of my alliances is with the Department of Health and Human Services.
Okay.
So I do a lot of events. One of the ways I reach people and network through events. And the federal government, contrary to popular belief, doesn't spend a lot of money doing things. They get resources, providers, people like me, and I do the Adobe filming and develop the flyers. I get on LinkedIn, I find speakers, and I put everything together. I did one I did one called Black Pandemic in July. There were 11 speakers from the government, federal, state, and city. And I was the only civilian out of the 11 speakers that spoke. And they didn't get me just because I am a great speaker and I got good content, which I like to think I do. But they got me because I was a graphic designer that knew how to create a flyer. They didn't have money to pay for a flyer. Also, they knew I had contacts. So they said, well, we just go to Karl. He'll get the people and do the flyer for us. And so I do that also. So those are one of the things it does. The government is easy to work with as long as you don't claim a political side.
Oh, okay.
If you just claim the people, you can navigate.
But do you think, because I feel like there were two big themes last year, Karl. Like number one, of course, was the pandemic. And then the other thing was the people. When you talk about whether it's, the Black Lives Matter, or whether you talk about just kind of relating to somebody that might have a different political stance than you, and like everything around the election and all that. So I feel like we've got two kind of sicknesses at the same time that we got to get better from. So when we look at interacting with people and kind of coming together and finding the unity that everybody wants to talk about, but nobody seems to want to work on, like, how do we get to that point?
We have to avoid the polarization. I'm unsure about what to think about me, because I tell them, I says, look, you guys don't even operate on your Bible. You're trying to preach and teach people into salvation when that's not what the message is. There were only a common leader of a religious faith. There was only twice he was in the building. He only went to the synagogue twice, once as a child and once when he turned over tables. He took church to the picnic. They'd fed 5,000. He took them to a boat on the hill. He took them into the sinners' dens and did those things. Go is a word translated from leka, that is a military term. You're supposed to take the battle to the guy is the foe. You're not supposed to try to tell them to come over here and we're going to give you some candy for your kids, call it trunk or treat, and we're going to evangelize you. That's not evangelism. That's preaching to the choir. And so for me, it's all about getting out there and amongst people, having those tough, crucial conversations, learning how to speak their language, and then being open enough to realize you may not be right. You may be the wrong one with the wrong perspective. Certainly, there are times when what is considered right is not right under the circumstances. You know, they call it a foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds, or better put, nothing so unequal as the equal treatment of unequals. So it's all about, as far as I'm concerned, that's why, to answer your question again, Melissa, that's why there is a community care, because all about, for me, is to be honest and open and transparent and open-minded. Mm-hmm. Trying to put that together took me a number of decades.
Real quick, Melissa, I was just gonna say, like, I feel like, you know, kind of coming up, you know, with in a family that was faith-based and seeing different churches and different religions, and that struggle that I think a lot of people have that you're talking about, Karl, where you might believe you're right, but there also might be some information that you haven't processed, which would allow you to build a bridge to somebody else. And so, like, do you think that maybe this is an opportunity right now for people in the faith community to kind of reach out and go out there and actually maybe get work done that they might not have had we not all been in this kind of situation that we're still in right now with COVID?
Absolutely. I believe that COVID was not coincidental nor accidental. And so, yes, this has given us an opportunity to open our eyes and realize, you know, there was another time in that same book where they were going to the promised land, right? Mm-hmm. And the people pulled a mutiny on their leader and says, look, you brought us out here in the desert to die. Let's take us back to that land of milk and honey where we just came from, the land where we were slaves. But they gave us grapes on Thursday and rabbit on Sunday. That was good. We're eating this nasty manna every day. And that's a problem, but that's not true. The land of milk and honey is ahead of us. The problem is we've got to stop being the leaders in the name of whoever we believe in and start following whoever we believe in. It's not us to lead, it's for us to follow the path that has been already given to us. They call that, we tell our kids to do that, it's called obedience. We need to do what we've been told to do. And forget that three-letter word, why? That's what kids do. When they get 4 years old, they want to know why.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Mine is 7, and that's all he wants to know is why.
Yep. You answer his question why, and he's going to ask you why is that the why. You know, you said that's the reason it's blue. Well, why is it blue? Because that's the way God made it. Well, why did God make it like that?
Karl, just a quick question, right? Not to be mean or disrespectful to you. I hear your thoughts, but what happens like if I don't believe in God? So what's wrong in questioning it, right? You are
nothing, absolutely nothing. That's my point about being open-mindedness, because it takes more faith to have no faith than it does to have faith. And then if you look at the book, and I'm going to talk about the Bible here. If you look at the Bible as a historic document, it'll tell you some things that are very interesting. It talks about the freshwater pathways in the sea. Very significant, since they believed they were on a planet that was flat. And if you went too far out, you'd fall off the edge. How did they know there was freshwater pathways in the sea since there had never had a boat? How did they know? It'll talk about in the Bible the circumference of the earth. How did they know that the earth was round? They didn't have any telescopes or any things back there. And then also, when I believe in a higher power, I have to believe that the higher power has changed his mind, and it always maintains the opportunity to change his mind. We get caught on to a religious belief and therefore accept something that comes from some man as gospel, and therefore we become rigid with a higher power that has the authority to change his mind at any time. And to answer your question very specifically, Steve, There are three major religions, and all of them claim Abraham as a father, and they all claim Jerusalem as the holy city, with three different belief systems. And I don't claim to know or understand or have the right answer. So with me, even though I am a believer and I know what I believe for my purpose, I fully believe in your right to believe what you believe. And more importantly, in the order of transparency we talked about earlier, I want to know why you believe like you believe. I don't want to debate my position against yours. I want to hear what you got to say. This is where we have a problem on the planet.
Yeah, I understand that what you are saying, and honestly, I appreciate that. But the disagreement comes on when everybody has their own belief, and say like you as such came to a conclusion on large number of people, assuming that like there are major three religions, and that itself is a false statement, right? I mean, there are major like billions of people who don't believe in God, and they have been forced to have some kind of union and identify them. Like, for example, Hinduism and Buddhism are not religion as such. That was created by the Western world. I don't know if people agree on that. It's being forced on people because they have their traditions and cultural practices, and they believe everything, right? So even stone, a tree, everything is a god for them, and people mocked at that and say like Bible is the truth. So if you look at in that perspective, right, picking on Christianity, right, even believers who criticize that like modern slavery was a culmination of thing that was said in the Bible. Bible didn't say anything about slavery. It favored. It should have added one single word: don't own people, right?
Well, yes and no. Here's what I'm getting at. I think the problem is man. I've got a very friend of mine that's actually presenting tomorrow. He's from New Delhi. He's a Buddhist. His name's Gupta. And I understand his Buddhist belief. I understand the Hindu belief. The problem is that whether you're Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, or Hindu, you've got these dogmatic belief systems that are purported by man, which is where the falsehood becomes evident and where people tell you that this is what is said. And sometimes what you've been told, just like I talked about the 96%, that's something somebody told to me. I haven't been able to disprove that because I haven't talked to Steve to help me understand what he knows. And the thing is, as long as I can be open-minded enough to hear what Steve's got to say, then I'm open to truth. We too often want to dictate to our higher power what he means and what he says. And that to me is where the problem becomes. Man has become so autonomous in his deity that he has misled the entire planet.
So in other words, and I don't want to misrepresent you here, Karl, but like I guess what you're saying is like, how big can your God be if he or her or it can be stuffed in a box and defined by these parameters that man makes up?
Right. Exactly. You know, I have come to the belief that the God that I understand is basically because of my perspective. My parents brought me up this way from this part of town, and so I can understand that. But that's not to say that the God of my perspective is not from a mustard seed, and that there's one creator of all life,
Mm.
and that has been perceived by multiple viewpoints. And then those people that did those viewpoints started writing books and making decisions and giving explanations that really might be far from the truth.
That's where my thing comes from. The Bible is just something that, a bunch of people just started writing down stories that, I mean, they may be true, they may not have been true. I would like to think that some were true, but some of them, like Steve would say, like they could have put in there, there should not have been slaves, but they did not. So it's like where, because I do believe in God. I'm not saying that I don't, but it's just, where they could have put that in there. It's just, I see where both sides come from with that point, It's like their man just has so much to say. You just gotta either believe or you don't with that one, It's like there is no proof with that. The Bible is just a thing where it's like you don't have any proof there. you don't. But like you said though, how they didn't have any telescopes. You don't know where did they come with that? Like I was just reading it today and I was just blown away by some of the things that I was reading, like, really? What was I reading? He was asking Job, but he was like, well, prove this and prove that. And Job was like, you know what, God, I can't prove this. And he was like, oh, okay. So what you saying? He's like, I don't know. Well, then shut up. So it is, I guess, to everybody's belief and interpretation.
Well, that goes back to my transparency statement, though. That's the point I'm trying to make, is that if we don't talk to each other, and if I'm mad at you because you don't think like I do and you believe contrary to I do, then I'm just as wrong as you are. And I'm going to use a name. I normally don't use that, but some people are absolutely wrong in the name of Jesus. They're representing what they believe, but they are misrepresenting what they're seeing. They're misrepresenting nature altogether. Right now we see it in our country right now. Because that's why I said what I said. I'm going to be real frank, Melissa. I said it kind of around the corner earlier, but I'm going to say it. The politicians are not going to fix it. I don't care if it's true, if it's Republican or if it's Democrat. They ain't going to fix nothing. They have what they call lobbyists. All they're going to do is cater to the lobbyists. And the message that is given in most religion, if you really look at it, and I'd be interested in discussing this with you. The message that's given in most religions is you, the person, need to do the right thing. Greatest philosopher I know is a guy named Michael Jackson. He talks about the man in the mirror, and you got to change his ways. Nothing's going to be any clearer if you want to make the world a better place.
I love him.
Look at yourself and make a change.
Make a change. And this is what we don't want to do. We want to look at Barack Obama and tell him, Barack, I got your back, brother. I'm going to send you $10. Will you go fix it? And so I can go back and sit down and watch Netflix. That's not the solution. To me, the solution is why we're having It Takes a Village tomorrow. The solution is for people that are passionate and compassionate to take out and take action and help other people. I'm not trying to help you in anybody's name. I'm trying to help you for your own benefit. That's why I believe in community care. That's why I believe in helping people find help, because I'm not interested in an award or a reward. All I'm interested in is we need to come together. And we don't need to come together in the name of anybody. It don't have to be any particular deal. It just needs to be, certain things just make sense. I'm going to smile at you and I hope you smile back. Come on now. What else do we need? We need to care. We need to feed the people that are hungry. We need to help people that are sick. Addiction is a very big curse. And in codependency, there are a lot of people that fall out because their loved ones are addicted to sex or drugs or alcohol or whatever. But they tell them in another book that you got to be cheerful and you got to grant them the same love and compassion that you would cheerfully grant a sick friend. Would you get mad at somebody because they came down with cancer?
Mm.
If somebody's got a sexual addiction, guess what? They got a disease. They're sick. They need some help. They don't need you to legislate morality to them. They want to do it. They're doing what they don't want to do.
Mm.
What you need to do is to try to help one another and to care for one another, because that's the way it should be, no matter what you believe in, or even if you believe in nobody. Most people do believe in the sanctity of the human nature, of the human being, of the human life. And for me, that's where I hang my hat. Now, I got my own belief system, but the reason we don't have better belief systems, most of us really don't want to take the time to investigate anything.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know, so if you ain't investigating, you don't really know if it's true or not.
That is true. That is true. Well, we are, coming up towards the end. So I am the timekeeper today.
Well, Melissa's always got an eye on the watch. But yeah, we gonna have to do this again, Melissa, because I feel like we just kind of scratching the surface of the conversation here.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know it was going to go this way, but that's where so that's where it was supposed to go.
like you said, everything happens for a reason. So there's a reason we had this conversation today.
Yes,
it really is. It really is. I like you. We got to talk again for sure.
I'm always seeking input. I'm always wanting to know more for no other reason than to be able to do more. You have not because you ask not, so you got to go do something. And if you ain't doing nothing, then you're part of the problem.
Absolutely. Well, I was going to say, Melissa, I think we had the same thought. Speaking of problems, like if somebody needs to get in contact, if somebody needs to be connected with somebody, is there a way that they can reach out to you?
Yes, they can call, they can go to USCCRC, Community Care Resource Council.com.
That was
USCCRC.com.
Thank you, Karl. We got that, and definitely, I think we should have a longer format of discussion, like next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Have a good day.
Appreciate you having me.
All right, everybody, be safe out there, Karl.
God bless. Y'all take care.
All right.
Have a good one, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Stop Now, a social experiment enterprise. Stop, listen, share. Everyone can make a difference. We are on a mission. Everyone should do something greater in their lifetime. Change the future. Be a proud member. Join us to support, volunteer, and donate.